Fantastic. It's nice to meet everybody. Good morning, Peter. Glad to have all of you here. I'm so excited that so many of you have tuned in. Good morning, Corey. I'm super excited. I was saying earlier, like when I've been working on this idea for a while, but when I kind of first sent out the email and launched it, I truly wasn't expecting more than like 30 or 40 people to join us for this webinar, but we've actually had almost 200 people sign up. And to me, that's like exciting and like so awesome. Thank you all for joining us here, for registering, for showing up, for giving us your support, for constantly giving us your feedback, your positive feedback, your constructive feedback. We love hearing it. We love taking it back to the team and, really improving our tools and working on it. So we love that you guys are so involved and always happy to share your ideas and, what you need. So just keep it coming. Like I said, if you have any feedback on the webinars themselves as well, anything you want to see next, we'd love to hear that from you as well. So yeah, because, truly we're just here to support you and your safety program, which in turn supports your workers and your companies. So we're here for you. So please keep giving us all of the feedback that you can, all the comments, chatting with us, all the phone calls we get. We love it. It's fantastic. Some people have some questions there for Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you. I'm just going to give a couple more minutes to roll in here. I do have Tyler and Stephen helping me out in case you haven't met them already. They are part of our sales team. So, if you have any additional questions on Workhub or you want a full demo on the rest of the features, I'm sure they'd be happy to help you out. I'm always here if you have any questions on, how certain things work, or anything like that. So that's fantastic. We have a couple more people joining us. So where are you guys calling in from? I will be walking through those steps as well, how to turn on those features and all of that. So we will be going through that a little bit later. Hi, Kimberly from High Level. How is your morning? Becky from Dawson Creek. Nice to meet you, Becky. Is everybody, for the new people here, you guys excited for the long weekend? Do you have lots of turkey plans? Hello, Sarah from Crossfield. Fantastic. We are also live streaming on YouTube, so I did put the link in there earlier. If anybody wants to share it or view the recording after, it will be available on YouTube. Fantastic. So I guess we're ready to get started. So I did say a little bit of this before, but I'll just go over it for the people who are new here. I just want to say thank you for joining. We've had almost 200 people sign up for this webinar, and that's incredibly exciting. This is the first webinar I've ever done, so please go a little bit easy on me. But I am excited to meet all of you. I'm sure I've talked to most of you before, via chat, email, or over the phone. But if I haven't met you before, my name is Amal, and I am the Customer Success Manager here at Workhub. And I just want to say, we love getting feedback from you guys, the positive feedback that we get, the constructive feedback, all the stuff that we're able to use to, make our tools better, because we truly just want to support you and your safety programs. So definitely, if you have any additional questions or anything like that, we are always happy to hear it. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen here and get into my presentation. Oh, sorry. Perfect. Okay, so welcome to our webinar, everybody. So in case you Okay, sorry. First, I'm going to go over the agenda. So basically, in this webinar, we're just going to first talk about what behavior-based safety is and, why it's important to a company's safety program, why we built this tool for you, how workers can submit behavior observations on Workhub, and then how you as the admin can create and assign those behavior observations as well. And then I'll be going over how you can track and analyze the data from submitted behavior observations. And, at the end, we'll do a little bit of a Q&A. I think most of you guys might be able to vote on your questions, but yeah, if we don't get to all of your questions at the end, then, feel free to send us a chat, an email, give us a call, or, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to answer your questions as well. So let's get right into it. What is behavior-based safety? Behavior observations, they can actually be referred to as well as safety observations, and truly they're part of a larger process that a lot of companies implement called behavior-based safety. And BBS really tends to focus workers' attention on their own and their peers' daily safety behavior. It is a process which informs management and employees of overall safety of a workplace through safety observations. And, the goal of this process is really to improve the employee safety of the company. Programs like these can really give employees like a meaningful way to support the company's safety efforts and, help them to influence site culture as well, because it really allows them to kind of take their own safety into their own hands, so they're conscious of their behaviors and, the things that they can do to make that work environment much safer for them. And it can also be really beneficial to them because it could help them to identify, hazards that were previously unrecognized, or a way to learn about unfamiliar work areas. So, if you ever have, on your behavior observation, for example, you might have listed like some specific area of the warehouse, and a worker may think like, well, I've never actually looked at that area of the warehouse, so how do I know whether it's safe or unsafe? This is a behavior-based safety, the ABC model on the screen here. I'm not sure if most of you guys have seen this before, but it's just a little infographic I found that I thought was pretty interesting to see how behavior was kind of, at the center of a lot of basically any other process. What do you mean?
Not sure.
Oh no, I'm so sorry, guys. Apparently the screen wasn't sharing. Oh no, I'm sorry. Okay, can everybody see the screen now? I'm sorry, I didn't even have the chat on. Yikes. Please go easy on me. Okay, great. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. Okay, so here was the, previous slide, just the agenda that I was talking about, and this is the ABC model. So as you can see here, the behavior is kind of at the center of that. So yeah, implementing these behavior observations really just means that, employees can think about safer ways of doing things. And it's not just meant to be, it doesn't necessarily just influence them at work, but it kind of has that psychological effect to influence them all the time. So for example, after I was doing my presentation yesterday, I climbed up on my counter and, to grab a glass from my cupboard because I can't reach anything. But the safer way to do it would have been to use the step ladder, and actually, having read a lot about behavior-based safety, it actually brought that to the top of my mind. So that's really what we're trying to do, is just bring those safer safety behaviors, to the top of mind, and really force people to think about how to do things more safely and how they can do it the best way. So yeah, so our tool really just provides a system that allows you to track and track safety culture in your workplace, as well as kind of track and analyze the trends within the safety culture and the behaviors at your workplace. And it ties in very well with the incident investigation and processes. So I think that's awesome. And the other thing about our tool is it actually, the person who's being observed is anonymous. And so this really helps to overcome some of that fear that workers have, about being reviewed by their peers or anything like that. And it also allows you to set the frequency of when you want these observations completed. And so, the great thing about that is we're really trying to avoid that end of month catch up that a lot of people are sometimes feel like they have to do. For example, if you say oh, we needed behavior observations tracked at this specific work site, and now it's by the end of the month, and now it's the end of the month, and only 2 have been done. People are just like frantically writing in, so they're not really keeping track of it, but because of our tool you can set the frequency, which is great because it allows people to keep on top of it because it affects their compliance. So I'm going to get into a little bit of the history. This is a cool little graph I found, a little bit of a triangle, which kind of shows like how it evolved from 1930 to 2003. So this is, I guess, like more of the current statistics, but how it kind of progressed. Excuse me. In terms of the history, there is actually a lot of debate about when behavior-based safety really began. In 1931, Herbert William Heinrich published an article that stated roughly 95% of all accidents, injuries, and illnesses were a result of worker errors. In the 1960s, that's when the first formal behavior study was concluded, and companies began to establish training and productivity programs. And then in the 1970s, there was a huge flurry of work around safety in the workplace, and this actually led to a lot of research and article publications about behavior-based safety. And it also led to the scientific model being developed for behavior analysis, which is truly just developing a hypothesis, testing the hypothesis, and then drawing a conclusion. Here's some more statistics for you guys. Based on all of my, thorough research, aka 100 Google tabs. No, but there was a lot of research. So in 1979, Dr. E.S. Geller coined the term behavior-based safety. In the 1980s, Millikan and Company adopted behavior principles. And then this was later followed by DuPont, who said that 96% of injuries and illnesses were caused by this act. Behavior safety technology now states that between 80 to 95% of these accidents are caused by unsafe behavior. OH&S claims that the number of lost time injuries drops significantly with behavior-based programs. But there is still a lot of dispute that some of these findings are without merit. Some criticisms exist because people think that having a behavior-based safety program moves the responsibility of that safety from the company or the safety team onto the worker. Some people also think that it's kind of meant more to point fingers at the worker rather than, the company taking responsibility for the safety program. And sometimes, can, like I was saying earlier, can cause that fear amongst workers between themselves in terms of, being evaluated by each other. And, it can also struggle in specific industries where there is a high turnover rate, because sometimes it requires building that trust, within the company or the organization, and sometimes there's just not enough time to do that. But that being said, most companies have experienced actually 40 to 75% decreases in accident rates within the first 6 to 12 months of using a behavioral safety approach. And if used correctly, and if the safety team is truly using it as a tool to analyze any gaps within their safety program or where they can support their workers better, it can also allow you to locate the smaller behaviors, which can actually be implicated in a majority of the accidents. Behavior observations can actually improve, workplace willpower, and they can encourage workers to use what they know based on, training that the workers have received or other safety-related documents that are available to workers. And this is truly, the mindset that we're trying to change here, that the consequence of behaving unsafely almost always determines future unsafe behavior, because reinforced behavior tends to be repeated. So this is what we're trying to put a stop to. And this is sometimes the thought process that, can be going through someone's mind. Like, if I do something that I know is unsafe, but I don't get hurt and the job gets done faster, cheaper, I'm likely to do it again. So that's really what we're trying to avoid. You guys are all safety professionals, so I'm sure you all know, that there's 3 types of at-risk behavior. So I'll go over this really quickly: just conscious, habitual, and unintentional. And really, behavior-based safety is about targeting the unintentional and the habitual behavior. And, we're just trying to prevent any mistakes or errors, that people did not want to make in the first place, because mistakes like this can be caused, by psychological factors, could be caused by knowledge-based issues, or, sometimes it can be intentional, but those are usually exceptional or situational based on, that day or something else that's happening. So, there are some benefits to using behavior observations. You can really help to establish a safe workplace because, you can positively reinforce that. Some companies like to incentivize their workers for completing behavior observations. Again, our tool is amazing because it ties into the rewards program. So you can always incentivize workers to do their observations that way. If you have any questions about the rewards program, I'm sure Tyler and Stephen would be happy to help you out with that as well. But there's a lot of ways to really positively reinforce that great behavior and that safe behavior. And as well as it opens a lot of dialogue between workers and management, and that can also really lead to a safe workplace. And, sometimes that's very important. So these are some examples of types of behavior observations. So, I have two categories here, like one is for PPE and one is for job setup and site conditions. But I just want to emphasize, and then the next point is that you can always use this data that you collect from the behavior observation to figure out which aspects of your safety program need to be targeted, and develop maybe courses or training or, some more certifications or another policy or a procedure or, whatever the case may be, to really improve your safety program based on whatever your findings are through this tool. The last thing I just want to touch on is I do want to just clarify that there is a large difference between behavior observations and competencies. We believe that competencies are how to behave based on specific criteria, and these are really more step-by-step rather than widely applicable like the behavior observations are. So if the observation that you are creating is really relevant to a position or a location, then we think it should be considered a skill rather than a behavior. And if there is a required record of assessment, then it would be a competency. The main difference here is that competencies are required by OHS. But if you do want to see a webinar eventually on competencies, please let us know as well, because I would be happy to do that too. But yeah, so our tool is really meant to track behaviors that are done by everybody all the time. And it's not a requirement, but it's just considered a best practice. And so this is why we think the anonymous aspect is really important, because it does just eliminate all of that hesitation and fear. And it removes it from feeling like an assessment, which again is a competency. So now that oops. Sorry, guys. Okay, so I'm going to get into my demo here. I'm going to show you how a worker would see the behavior observation first, and then we'll go into the admin side and we'll build it. So if we click here on the behavior observations icon, oh, I'm really sorry. So really quickly, here you'll see it says to do, and you'll see that this one is actually past due. Mo's been slacking. This is what the worker will see. The other status is coming due. So you may also see this in yellow and say that it is coming due if based on the frequencies that you as the admin have set up. So when you click into the card here, you'll see a couple things. So the first is you can see your own submissions. It's important to note that for workers, once they have actually submitted their behavior observation, they can't really look back on it. As the admin, you can see the full observation, but the worker can't. And then if they have they also have the ability to see observations by other workers. Again, they can't click into it at all, but they can see that other of their coworkers have done some observations. So in this way, if let's say one person is, kind of spearheading the behavior program, they could, go to their coworkers and say like, hey, like you haven't done an observation yet. Like I'd really like it if you did, or something like that. The other great part is they can see the last time this was updated. So because there is only one form across the company, sometimes it can be updated. So if they had any feedback on a specific question or behavior that was being tracked, they'll be able to see that, this observation is newer maybe than the one that they did in July. And then the other thing they can do is actually click on this name here. So this would be the name of the admin who last updated the behavior observation, and clicking on it actually gives them the contact information, which I think is a really handy feature as well, because it's a good page to kind of see it, especially if you need to report a hazard or, something critical right away, then you have that contact information right there. And these columns, you can actually just filter by clicking on it. So if you just wanted to look at different dates or whatever, if you were looking for a specific one, you could just kind of see that. But let's get into it now. So to get started, you're just going to click the Start Behavior Observation button in the top right corner. And this is kind of what the form will look like. So you can change the location to shop or yard. These are the options we have in this account. And the worker also has the ability to add comments for each of these observations. So, they can just type in if they feel like they need to add any extra details or something like that for you. And you just kind of click on either of these if you want to change it. So let's fill this out. Okay, so PPE is in proper condition. PPE I have in this room, like the microphone cover, I guess, I would say, yeah, safe. Job setup and site conditions, temperature is great, job pre-planned, maybe that's at risk, like if you would say last minute, written procedures, yep, hazards identified, yep. And they also have this NA option, which you as the admin can turn on by section or by specific component. So let's say like there's no tools or equipment in this workplace, you could just say not applicable. Executing work, eyes on task. Let's say the person I'm observing is on their phone all the time. So that's definitely an at-risk behavior, but they're not in the line of fire. So I guess that's good. Procedures, again, you can say whatever you want here, avoids repetitive motions, let's say safe. And so once they fill this out, they can, kind of check over their answers, make sure everything is okay, change anything they need to, and then they would just hit submit. And once it's been submitted, you would just see it here listed. And if we go back to the main page here, you should see that this card will update. So this one is done, but there is another one coming due because of the frequency that we've set. So that's how a worker would do it. It's very simple for them. It's just filling out a form. They're just clicking a couple buttons, adding comments where they need to. So that's like the easy part, right? Okay, so let's get into the admin side here. So we're just going to switch over to our admin side. So I'm going to touch on a couple things. I'm just going to start with the permissions of this actual feature. So if you go to positions and select the position of operations manager, for example, I'm just going to click on the permissions actually and show you from this page. So for the worker side, for workers to be able to do the behavior observation, you're going to want to give them permissions to view, insert, which is the ability to submit one. And so those are the only two permissions we have on the worker side for behavior observations. So the ability to see them, which allows them to see their own and that they've been assigned to them, and then the ability to insert, which allows them to submit it. Now on the administrative side, if we just scroll down here, so we have the ability to view, which is just for admins to be able to see all of the submissions as well as the data. We have the ability to insert, which is basically to create a new one, update, so to update an existing one, and delete, which allows you to remove one if it's not necessary at your company. Or if you want to start over from scratch, or whatever the case is. So once we've establish the permissions for the correct positions, you want to click into the tool. Now, if your icon is showing off, which some of you were saying was happening on the chat earlier, you'll see that you'll land on this settings page. And this will probably be disabled. So you'll just want to go ahead and toggle this over to enable and then hit save settings in the top right corner. As you can see on the settings page here, we have the time that you would let this submission be flagged for coming due, like we do on our forums and other components. And then we have the rewards option here, so you can set how many points you want your workers to have for completing a behavior observation. I'm going to switch over to the overview tab here now. So when you first land on this page, you'll see all of these like funky kind of graphs and data. And so this is your data, which really allows you to see and analyze how many risks there are, how many safe checks, and the trends over time. I will get a little bit more into that, but let's start by building it. So as you can see, these are the observation checks that we previously had. The great thing is you can also check the observations by section or by observation check individually. The results of the observation check. So you can see how many, for example, in the section of PPE, you can see how many observations were safe and how many were at risk. But for example, if we look under like the job setup one where we have multiple observation checks under that section, you can actually see for each section. So if you click into the section header, you will see the same kind of graphs and data here and the trends. And you can also change the NA so the non-applicable option for the entire section here. You can see how many comments were left on each observation check. And this is where you would just change the title of the observation check as well. So that's great. And then you can also click into the individual observation check to see the same data. These can actually be dragged and dropped over, so you can move into different sections if you wish, or back over. It's important to note that you can't delete a section that has multiple observation checks in it. So you would have to either move the observation checks to a different section or delete the observation checks first before you could delete the section. So for example, in this PPE one, if I delete this, then I can delete this section of PPE, and I can just hit cancel to bring all of that back. And you would just click here to add a section, and basically you just get to type in. So we're gonna put in body mechanics. I'm just gonna duplicate the first one there, and at the bottom here you can just click observation, and automatically you'll fall under that correct one. And then let's say I realize like, oh no, I actually already have a body mechanics section. I'm just gonna drag and drop this one over here, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and delete these two sections. Once you have saved this, you also have a preview button at the top right corner. So clicking the preview button just allows you to see the worker view without switching over into your worker side. So this is also fantastic because you can kind of see what the worker will see and how it will work for them. And then getting back up here to the data. So once you have a lot of workers submitting their behavior analysis, you actually have some filters here because you have the ability to archive certain submitted ones, or you can see, within the last date. So if you ever wanted to compare like last month to this month, you could pull up different charts from, let's do like over the past week and see how the data changes. So you can see like this kind of changes from the last week over. So this is, option to amazing, sorry, to have the ability to kind of filter and toggle that as well. So once you have built your behavior observation here, you want your workers to start doing them. How do we do that? We assign them. So most of you guys who are familiar with Workhub, I'm sure have seen our assignments tabs before, but you would basically just click into here. And the great thing about behavior observations is they can be assigned either by position or location. So let's say we want to assign them by position. You have your NA, your optional, your required. As soon as you toggle one of these to say required, you will see like this show up, and you have the option of setting the frequency. So, truly there's an unlimited number of options here in terms of how you want to set the frequency, whether you want it to be like every 5 days or, every 5 months or, whatever the case is. And it's nice to have this ability to do it by location as well. So even though, you can't make different observations per location because those generic behaviors really are similar across locations. You can kind of like, customize how often they need to be done at different locations because, for example, your head office may not truly need observations frequently at all compared to your work site or on the field. So once that's all good to go, you just hit the save button in the top right corner. And the next tab we have here is submitted observations. So as I was showing you on the worker side where you could just click on the header here to change the sorting, you can do the same here. You can do it by safe, you can do it by the amount of comments, or you can even do it by location. And we do have some more filters here as well, which actually allow you to filter submitted observations by specific counts. So if you are, just building some sort of report to see how many observations you've had that were considered safe because it had 6 safe checks in it, you could go ahead and do that this way as well. And you can click into the observation to see actually the details of it. You're not able to make any changes to it, but you can do that. And if we had a lot of people at first who were testing out this tool who, submitted some test ones, and they were like, oh no, we don't want this to ruin our data. Like, we need to delete it. So we added a delete button there for you as well. We are actually making a quick update to this tool tomorrow as well. So we will be having the ability to import from a template. So kind of like inspections. I know some of you haven't seen that yet, but also like worksite screening. If you guys have played around with it, where, when you add one, you can kind of choose it from the template or something like that. That ability will be here as well. So that's going to be awesome. We have a template with a lot of examples, some that were in the presentation I showed you earlier, but that will be right there. Great. So I think that is. Can you read the comment that okay, sorry. Okay, great. So I think that kind of concludes how to use it on Workhub. I'm happy to take any Q&A questions you guys may have now. Okay. Can you read the comment that the observer typed? Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, so when you go into the submitted observations, you will see the comment listed here. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Bob. Corey, I guess it seems like Tyler helped you out here. Let's check the chat. What do you guys think? Do you feel like there is a lot of place for this tool at your workplace? Is there any other questions that you guys may have for me? Oh, suggestions for setting up sections. Oh, okay, I see the chat here now. Sorry. Okay, let me go through this. Very useful tool. John, feel free to send us an email after. We'd be happy to walk you through that. I guess Tyler already answered you. Tyler is like really fast. Okay. Yes, because it gives all employees a voice. Truly, I think that that's the important part. It's nice for your employees to feel, empowered and like they can kind of contribute to their workplace and, have their considerations taken in. I think like all of us, like the ability to work for a company that kind of listens to us. So it's a great way to really encourage them to do that safely, you know, and bringing those safety behaviors top of mind and just encouraging them to really think about safety and, you know, how to avoid any sort of injuries, you know, that can be avoided. What is the difference between position and location settings? Miles, we just wanted to give you guys the option to have different ways to assign it. Some people might find it's easier to assign by location. Other people might find it's easier to assign by position. I just want to clarify that, you know, it's not meant for a supervisor to observe a worker, because again, that would truly be more considered a competency. It's really for workers to observe their peers or, you know, other behaviors at their workplace. This process is going to be part of the auditing documentation. Yeah, I think there is a very huge push for psychologically based safety programs as well. So I can totally see why that would, you know, be useful. What's Dale asking? Can a person complete an observation and only select one thing, i.e. saw someone not wearing PPE, select that as a risk, add in a comment? That is a good question. That is a really good question, Dale. Let me see if I can find out for you. Okay, so unfortunately, they would have to fill out all of the sections, but to get around this as the admin, you could allow the non-applicable option to be available for various observation checks, and this would just allow for your workers to kind of, you know, like turn those off and just answer specifically. It can be filled in on the mobile format of Workhub. We don't have it available on the new worker ID feature yet, but it might be something that's coming. That's feedback I will definitely pass on to the team. I know we have some other plans in the works right now for the worker ID, so that will be fun. Maybe we could do a webinar on worker ID as well. What do you guys think? Mohammed is asking difference between position and location. Mohammed, it's really whatever works best for your company and how you wish to track it and ensure that people can, you know, access the observation. So sometimes it might be you just want everybody at one location to do it. Sometimes it might be that you want specific positions only to be able to do it. Great, thanks, Sylvia. Thank you to everybody who attended. If you guys have more Q&A questions, keep them coming. Otherwise, let me know if you're heading out. Thanks for joining me on a gloomy Thursday morning. It was nice to see all of you, nice to meet all of you, nice to chat with you. Thank you. Thank you guys for joining. You know, if you have any feedback on it, please send me a message. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. You know, I'd be happy to connect with you guys there. And, you know, as always, you can reach me by phone, you can send me an email, you can chat with us. We're happy to answer any questions you guys have, and we're here to support you. Do we have, I'm not sure if we have a boilerplate template, but it is maybe something we could research and consider adding in. We will definitely be adding in some template behavior observations. Thank you everybody. Oh my God, you guys are making me blush. You all are so sweet. Thanks for joining, Corey, Stephen, Bambi, Dale. Thanks, Dale. Nice to see all of you guys. Hopefully we can chat again soon. I'm excited to see you for the next one. Definitely. Again, yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Dan. Any other questions? Thank you, Chuck. Thanks. That's Douglas there sending us a message. Oh, I don't know if everybody can see that. He is our COO. So thanks, Doug, for tuning in. Thank you, Mike. If you have any questions, definitely give us a shout. Awesome. Well, thank you, Peter. Thank you, everybody, to joining. Happy Thanksgiving. Everybody, I hope you have a fantastic long weekend. And I will see you on the next webinar. Okay, bye-bye.